Hey guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel, and it is almost time for Camp NaNoWriMo, which makes March Preparch, aka the prep month before Camp Nano. Or, to quote my brother,
we are, I guess, preparing, and it is February, so this would be what, Prepruary?
Yeah. You are my brother. Yes. So in the video today, I want to go over my old 10-step plan for Camp NaNoWriMo, or just NaNoWriMo in general, how to prep for this event. I'm also going to go over what my brother and I will be working on and our amended plan for the month, which I am very excited to tell y'all more about. And also I'm going to take you on a little bit of an adventure with me because this is going to be a multitasking video, because I just got this new nail plate where I can make bookish nails. And I figure now is truly no better time than Camp NaNoWriMo, and just all the time. All the time is the best time to do this. So the first step is always to choose a story. My actual favorite is when people like flip a coin. If you have multiple ideas, maybe you assign a number to each one, roll the dice, see what comes up, then you know in your heart of hearts what you really wanted to do. I do heart books. So my brother David and I were texting on February 11th. He sent me this cool like basement entrance to an underground theater. And so basically we were just like spitballing ideas back and forth, left and right, with the occasional Inuyasha thrown in. And by the end of this hour and a half texting, we'd basically come up with a story. We had the bones of the story. The main characters, the tragic ending, the very intriguing setting for this underground secret theater. So anyways, it was no wonder that it was only a few days later when both he and I at the same time were like, should we work on this for Camp NaNoWriMo together? Yes, the answer is yes. So that's how we chose our story. Still taking a break on Project Death, which I did get feedback from Jessica, so I'm very excited about that. But I want at least 2 months between these kind of fantasy project revisions. I prefer having 2 months between all revisions. Can't always help that sometimes, but since I can here, I'm gonna take it. And I'd been wanting another fantasy project to work on, so I actually had a separate idea, but I'm excited to go with this one and work on it with David.
David.
So that leads us into step 2. Pick a word count goal or an hour goal, or maybe even a chapter goal if you're editing. One of the great things about camp is that you're not a rebel for not doing the 50K. And so David and I were discussing what our goals would be. Now, David has never finished a project before. I think my brother is a phenomenal writer, and I'm so excited to work with him on this project. And I think there's something so fun just in general about collaborating and co-writing. You just have a built-in person to affirm you and be like, yeah, this story's good. I like this story too. Y'all are both invested. And it's nice to have someone else sort of championing your story at the same time. It's just unique in how solitary writing usually is. But because he's never finished a story before, his goal is just to write every day. I've now finished one hand. So rather than doing a full-on word count goal for us, we're just going to go ahead and stick with the goal of writing every day. This will be important when we're talking about outlining in the prep we've kind of already done and what we're going to continue to do for March to set ourselves up so that we can write every day, but we'll get to there. So normally step 3, I'd say, is log into camp, announce your project, do all that fun stuff, get yourself a cabin. Decide if you maybe want to do writing vlogs or post on your Instagram story for accountability each day. Obviously things you don't have to do, but it's kind of fun in order to find some other people. And then we're gonna move into the story portion. The story portion of the prep. So, David and I set up 5 meetings throughout March with a goal for a different thing to be done at each meeting. So we want to do all the work leading up to it and then have a phone chat, a video chat discussing what we've decided on together. We did set up a whole shared Google folder and different Google Docs. So David and I decided that during our first meeting, we're going to have the setting figured out. More about how this town and the theater itself and the rebel group who meets there, how this came to be, basically what's the current government structure, because that's going to be very important to the characters, and it's based all in this one town. So yeah, we're just gonna try and figure out more of the backstory and history leading up to the first chapter. So once we have our setting figured out, that's really going to help us figure out sort of step 6. We have 2 main characters where we're going to have alternating chapters, but we're going to do it at a 2-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to write the male main character because he's gonna have 2 chapters. He's really gonna be the main character. He's gonna have 2 chapters for every 1 chapter of the female main character. And David's going to write her character. And they are on opposite sides of this issue in this town. So week 2 is going to be figuring out the male main character, and his family structure is going to tie in with the town, and it's going to be very important throughout the story. So we need to have that figured out, and then the next week we want to have the female main character figured out, and basically more of how she joined the rebellion and what her role in particular in the rebellion is. We have the dates for our meetings all lined up, and I'll show our current Google folder structure. The plus side of co-writing in Google Docs is y'all can update it at the same time and also always access it, write notes out to each other. It's so helpful. Bonus points because David has used Google Docs before, so as much as I love Scrivener and Campfire Blaze, I'm going to be going with Google Docs this time. Now, besides the basic information that we have figured out through our little text exchange, we're obviously going to be building more and more sort of plot points along the way as we discover more about the location, as we discover more about the structure of this society, as we find out more about both of the main characters. So all of these things, as we figure out their arcs, are going to naturally lead into some version of a beginning, middle, end plot, right? And that is where our 4th week is going to shine. We're going to basically match up with some beats. Probably won't use romancing the beat specifically, maybe closer to Save the Cat, but basically we're going to figure out all of the beats of the story so that we know what needs to be hit along the way. Around this time, we'll also be creating an actual timeline. Not for David, because David's better with timelines, but I'm terrible at timelines. So we're making the timeline for me. It helps me not F the whole story and have to do a bunch of revision later. Project Purple, look at you. Now, all of that is wonderful, but the thing that David was sure to let me know was that the reason that he hasn't finished a story before is that he has no problem sitting down in the chair. He has an issue with, if he doesn't know what to write, getting stuck in that outlining phase and never getting anything written, or sitting down and just being like kind of paralyzed by the screen, by that little blink, 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 and the blank page. So not only are we going to do the whole timeline and all of the arcs and all of the beats, we're also going to make a chapter by chapter outline so that he knows exactly what he needs to write. So if both of our goals is to write every day, we will know what we have left to write. And that is when we will finalize everything on our final meeting, March 31st. So we'll be ready to frickin' go on April 1st. Now, we haven't scheduled them out yet since David doesn't know what his work schedule is like for April, but we will be trying to continue our weekly meetings. That way we can discuss anything that's popped up while we were writing our chapters. We did talk about having a whole ideas folder, and we basically, David and I are both pantsers or plantsers at heart. And that is one of the things I have learned while co-writing, is that you can't plants fully as you would. You can occasionally go off outline as long as you make sure that the other person's, 1, okay with it, but 2, you like give them ample warning in time. You don't want them to have written like however many chapters ahead and be like, by the way, I changed this one very crucial thing for all of those chapters, so we're gonna have to scrap them, okay? Hope you're fine with it. So we discussed what we were gonna do if something came up ahead of time that we realized was like, oh my God, amazing, and we need to explore this in the story and work it in somehow. So we're gonna have a whole ideas folder. Step 1 is continue writing that amazing idea. Just make sure you highlight it in your individual chapter as you go. You don't really want that inspiration to get away from you if you're like in the midst of, I'm having the best brain blast ever kind of thing. So keep on writing it, but then after you're done with the writing session, text each other and also put it in the ideas folder in the Google Docs so that we'll be able to check in and get more context other than just the text. And then at our weekly meetings, we will discuss further and reorganize the outline if we need to. Whew. Whew. And I believe that is everything. I'm going to finish up with a top coat on these. I think a couple turned out really well and a couple not so really well. But I'm so excited to have books on my nails. And I'm so excited for David and I to get to work with each other in full. The other times we've attempted to do this has kind of fallen through the cracks, but also because we weren't at this level of planning things. We didn't have this far into the story and we didn't have a system figured out. So I'm really excited with all of these things in place. I think our camp's gonna be amazing. I think it really is. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to explore a sort of fantasy dystopian, a light fantasy, and get to bounce ideas off of him because I just think he's incredible. He is the DM for our sibling D&D game, and what he's come up with is just amazing, phenomenal. He has to put up with us, but what he does is great. But that's gonna be it for me. Please do comment down below. Let me know what you guys are working on for Camp NaNoWriMo. Let me know what your general prep steps are. Let me know if you've co-written anything before. If you think that Camp NaNoWriMo is a good time to try, and you're also trying now. Let me know also if you're trying a different prep method than you've done before. If you're still, like me and my brother, fine-tuning the way you like to prep and you like to organize your writing ahead of time, the way you like to figure out your story before you start drafting. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you especially to some of my new patrons this month. Anastasia de Saraga Aguilar, Hattie Foster, Becca Joseph, Gabriel St. James, and Salem Rose. And I will see you all very soon with a new video. Bye!